In 1938, the average cost of a new house was $3,900. Average wages per year were $1,730. The cost of a new car was $763, and a gallon of gas cost 10 cents. A loaf of bread was 9 cents, and a United States postage stamp was 3 cents. In 1938, oil was discovered in Saudi Arabia, and the ballpoint pen, Teflon, and nylon were invented. Among those born in 1938 were daredevil Evel Knievel, actor Jon Voight, singer Kenny Rogers, and geologist and CEO Paul Lincoln Keyes. Good morning, and thank you for being here to celebrate Dad's life with us. It is a great privilege for me to have been asked to share a few thoughts about him. For those who do not know me, I am Sally and Paul's oldest son, Tim. Paul Lincoln Keyes. Dad's middle name is Lincoln because he shared the lawyer and first Republican President Abraham Lincoln's birthday, February 12th. Interestingly, Dad shared a number of other things with Lincoln, including a modest upbringing and a great love of reading. This love of reading served Dad well in both his career as a scientist and as a pastime throughout his life, especially on his many long business trips and hours of waiting in airports. Thankfully, he was able to enjoy reading till only a few months before his death. Dad's early life, born in Brooklyn of modest means, moving with his family to Long Island, attending the University of Notre Dame, getting a job as a field geologist at an oil company, and then going on to become one of the 10 most successful CEOs in 2008 is very much an American success story. It is a story of sheer willpower and hard work. Negotiating the intellectual challenges of the science, as well as the political nature of the business, exhibits a truly rare and uncanny ability to succeed in the midst of countless obstacles. By his side throughout this lifetime of successes and challenges was Sally, his wife of 60 years. Meeting when they were not much more than teenagers, they embarked on what would become a lifetime of love and commitment both to each other and to us 6 sons. Their teamwork forged a life for us that prepared each of us for our own futures. However, the life of an oil executive brought with it many unknowns, moving every few years throughout their life together. While we as kids adapted relatively quickly to the new surroundings, I know it was quite challenging for both Mom and Dad to adjust to what must have seemed like for them constant change. They willingly embraced the sacrifice to provide for each of us throughout our adolescent years and beyond. Like the evangelist St. Paul, Dad was equally as enthusiastic about life and how things worked as was St. Paul's enthusiasm with his message of Christianity. Dad embraced life in a way as to not want to miss anything. He excelled in sports, woodworking, building, gardening, husbandry, as well as organizing, auto mechanic work, and home maintenance. On more than one occasion, even as adults, when he and Mom would visit our own families, he would want to know what the agenda was and where we were going and what we were doing that day. Until his health began to fail, he was never one to sit idly by. Dad had an adventurous love of many things, and he especially loved to collect stuff. Antiques, decoys, African masks and fabrics, native Alaskan ivory carvings, old cars, fishing gear, rocks and minerals, and anything oil-related. He had an eclectic taste in music, one which I still don't quite understand, which included the musical Phantom of the Opera and the music of Dave Brubeck and his quartet. So we, as his sons, benefited from not only his personal interests, but in his knowledge and commitment to share with us. Golfing, fishing, Boy Scouts, camping, baseball, as both coach and player, boating, hunting, home repairs, lawn maintenance. The list is endless. All of us boys have fond memories of many hours spent playing run the bases and working on projects with him. And each of us is a better man because of his coaching, compassion, and guidance. As the oldest son, I knew Dad longer than any of my 5 younger brothers. I also had the distinct honor of being the first child my parents tested on. Unfortunately for them, their testing on me didn't hold true for the rest of my 5 brothers, Jim, Mike, Joe, Bill, and John, as each has their unique gifts and pose their own unique challenges. What did hold true was that both he and Mom dedicated themselves to each of us in their own way, helping us to learn to accept and overcome the many challenges each of us would go on to face in our own lives. As most of you here know, Dad was not an overly emotionally effusive person, to say the least. The Keyes side of the family, from immigrant Irish stock, is a familiar story to the many who settled the Northeast at the turn of the last century. Harsh circumstances and constant struggle characterized the life of many who lived through those times. Learning to face challenges and accepting difficult fortune created tough individuals. Even though he would never admit it, Dad was actually quite a soft touch. He maintained a tough exterior and was never one for platitudes. Instead, his intense care and consideration usually took the form of problem solving. When my brothers Jim, Joe, and I began touring as a band after college, we ended up stranded after gigs in various parts of the country, with no place to stay on more than one occasion. The following Christmas morning, we were surprised, dare I say shocked, to find a bus parked outside and given to us as a tour bus. Dad, knowing the challenges we were facing on the road, bought an old school bus and converted it into a mobile home complete with bathroom, stove, heat, etc., all by himself. Who does that? This was just one example of many. To this day, I marvel at the foresight, sacrifice, and commitment to each one of us. Most of Dad's support was usually carried out behind the scenes. Many family members, friends, and colleagues share similar stories about how Dad offered help or advice in some form or another. My wife Meg loves to share the story about how Dad was scheming with her behind the scenes to get me to ask her to marry. He would call her and say, "Anything yet?" She would answer, "Not yet." This went on for several weeks. He then went on to say, "I'm going to have a talk with him." He did, and we married. That was 27 years ago. The last significant conversation I had with Dad was when I was 40 and facing some real struggles with my career, and had some significant disappointments and challenges I was facing. We were driving down Gulf of Mexico Drive, heading home from a trip to Home Depot. He pulled the car over and began to ease my worries by talking about the big picture and how to put what I was going through into perspective. He said, at each stage of life, we will each embrace similar challenges. He proceeded to explain to me the similar challenges he had at 40. He then said, you won't escape these. You will face them at 50, 60, 70, 80, and then God. Well, Dad has finished his final challenge and has crossed over to embrace God. I'm sure he is scheming with Big D, Chess Jr., Uncle Raymond, and his brother Peter to solve whatever problems St. Peter might be having, and he is volunteering sage advice to anyone who will listen. Peace to his spirit.